Welcome to Kids Express.
Join us as we see kids express their love for Jesus
while developing their character.
on Kids Express!
Welcome to 3ABN Kids Express. Today we're going to meet a young lady who enjoys spending time with older folks in her community and is learning how to keep a good sense of humor. I'm Aunt Francine.
And I'm Steven. Shall we do Where in the World?
Yes.
Can you guess where in the world today's guest comes from? Can you identify which state this is? If you guessed Alabama, you would be correct. Let's welcome Sandra.
Welcome, Sandra. I'm so glad you're here.
Hello.
So you're from the state of Alabama, and what do you have here?
Fried green tomatoes.
Fried green. I have never had that.
Me.
It smells wonderful, though.
It's good.
It looks like cookies.
You like it? Do you get it on special occasions, or
I've had it once in my life.
only once in your life? But it is good. It's hard to get green tomatoes at the right time, right?
Right.
Yeah, before they ripe. That's kind of interesting. So tell us a little bit about Alabama.
Okay, so Alabama is known for the Space and Rocket Center. There are many things to do, and I've learned so much about space from the Space and Rocket Center. There are many awesome rides, such as the G-Force, where you're pushed against your chair.
Whoa, that
And you-
sounds really
and-
fast.
You are bumped up and down. It's fun.
It's
And there's also the moonshot. So they take you up this tall column, and then when you go down, it's like bup 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 bup, and that repeats until you get down to the ground.
wow, that's interesting.
I'm ready to go on the moonshot, and at the same time, I'm not ready.
So you like fast rides?
Yes,
Oh, so
I love them.
I don't think I've ever been on a ride in Alabama. That sounds like fun.
there is.
And it's also the birthplace of inventor George Washington Carver.
Oh, I remember studying about them. And what's so unique about him?
He's known as the Peanut Man.
He made a lot of things out of peanuts. Do you like peanuts?
Me too. Especially if they're salted.
Especially if they're salted.
Or
Wow.
honey roasted.
Oh, honey roasted. Yeah, I think honey roasted sounds really good. You know, there's another person that's famous way back in 1880s, and she went to college, and her name was Helen Keller. Do you remember who Helen Keller was?
love
What happened about Helen Keller?
She was blind and deaf.
She was blind and deaf, and she actually went to school. I love that story, and I think they've even started making a movie out of it. I can't wait. I think I would like to see that movie. It would be kind of interesting, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you're sharing in your community. You know, God always puts us in a special place, and wherever we are, we can be a witness, and that's what He wants us to do, is to be a witness. So tell us a little bit about what you do to be a witness.
I go to the nursing home with some of my friends, and God has blessed me with a talent for playing the cello, and some of my other friends with a talent for playing the violin, and some of my other friends, well, their parents and them, with the talent of singing. So we go and sing and play for them at the nursing home.
How often do you do that?
We don't really have a schedule.
You don't have a schedule?
We just do it whenever we're like, okay, it's been quite a while since we've gone to the nursing home. We need to give these folks some cheer.
Oh, that's nice. And so does your parents call up the nursing home and say, we're coming, or
Yes.
you make an appointment? So, yeah. That's kind of important, because I remember doing that, and they like to know when you're coming because they anticipate you coming, and they all come in a big group sometimes, and we would make cards and something like that. Yeah, that's kind of fun.
And also, when I used to, like when I was younger, we would go to, we went to a nursing home. That was like the first time I ever went there. And then we would sing for them. I sang Mary Did You Know, it was near Christmas. So singing Christmas songs is what we're gonna do, so yeah.
I think somebody's digging for China over here. I don't know what she's doing, but sometimes she is so happy in her bed that she is digging for China, and I kind of think she's having fun. Yep, look, she's happy. She's got her smile out there. But you know what? So is there anything else that you do in your community?
Yes, we went colporting a few years ago.
Oh, colporting.
Yes, it was really fun. And unfortunately, yes, there were some people who said no, but there were quite a few people who said yes, and we were able to give them books. If they weren't at home, we put the books in a really pretty bag and we left it on their door handle or on their doorstep.
Yeah.
Well, we've done that before. Like once we went, like it's in October. It was in October last year. So, you know, yeah.
You have to bundle up.
Yeah, people are making all kinds of weird stuff on their places.
You see a lot of Halloween.
Yeah, and then like when we were going to the house and house to house, there was a book called Happiness Digest. We were giving out those, and we went to this one. This is actually kind of funny. We went up to this place where there's they had a leg, and I think it's a hand. And it was on there, and it was so many weird stuff on it, like Halloween. And me and my friend, they were like, "Uh-oh, what's gonna happen now?" And then we were knocking on the door, and nobody opened it.
Oh. You didn't know what you were going to do. But, you know, they might have thought you were out for candy, but you were really trying to witness to them.
And then we left the books there.
That was good. That was good. And you never know what kind of seed you're planting when you leave a book with somebody.
True.
Because, you know, God can use us in many different ways. So I encourage you to keep colporting. I know Amanda, my daughter, has been doing a little bit of that. And that's kind of fun. You meet some interesting people and you realize how hurt some people are and how many of them actually want to pray with you. So, you know, I'd like to talk about developing our character. All of us can be a witness for Jesus, and sometimes he can work wherever we are, and sometimes with the skills that we have. But I'd like to know what one or two things that you would like to develop to be more like Jesus.
Patience, and I want to have a way better sense of humor, where I can just say something and everybody in the room will start laughing.
Wow. You know, I have to practice that. You know, sometimes I'm not funny enough, and you have to be quick-witted to be able to be funny. So what made you think about that's like Jesus? What made you think about making other people laugh?
Okay, well, there's a story in a book called Kidnapped,
Okay.
and it's really interesting. So there were these 16 Anabaptist hostages, all live in the U.S. or Canada, and they were kidnapped by a Haitian gang.
Oh, no.
And while they were in the camp, they nicknamed the guards so that way they could talk about them freely.
Okay.
And one of the guards they nicknamed Charlie Horse. Now one of the hostages did a play about if the U.S. came to free the hostages and what Charlie Horse would look like while he was running away. Then he picked up a piece of coconut and he said, "Oh, look at little Charlie Horse."
Oh, no.
and another one of the hostages, he was sitting on the empty cooler.
Okay.
But he leaned back way too far to see, and he was laughing so hard that he and the empty ice just flipped over.
Oh, no.
I still laugh every single time I read it.
That's funny. I tell you, sometimes my daughter reads the same books, and it's usually the funny books that we like to read, because those are the ones that we can either relate to. I mean, maybe you can relate to laughing at yourself or seeing something like that, and you're kind of like, you just laugh and laugh. But, you know, that reminds me of, you know, I think Jesus had a sense of humor. Do you think Jesus had a sense of humor?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Like when someone told a funny story, you must have laughed.
Yeah. You know, and I'm thinking, remember how Jesus was talking about, oh, you're trying to clean out the speck in somebody else's eye, but you've got this big log. For some reason, I remember this big plank. Yeah, in your own eye.
You can't even see it.
You can't even see it. I mean, Jesus had to have a sense of humor.
Yeah,
you know,
or he wouldn't have said that.
I think you're right.
How can you clean out a speck in somebody's eye when you have like this large, giant piece of wood in your own eye? Like, how are you even able to see? You have to be in pain if you have a giant piece of wood in your eye.
Right. So how?
And then he said, "Hypocrite, take the plank off your own eye first, and then maybe you can see well to take the speck out of your own eye." And it might not just be a plank. and the speck, it might be even something else.
Yeah, that would hurt. So tell me, how are you practicing to have that sense of humor? Because I have a hard time. Like,
Okay.
I'm thinking of some situations, so I want to hear from you.
So twice a month for this year, my mom is a school teacher.
Okay.
She teaches first grade. Now her class, they're young. They need a break from schoolwork. So we have what she calls Friday Fun Day. Now on the lunch break, I join them because I love it. And on the lunch break, we eat together. We tell jokes and riddles, and sometimes they're really funny. And we just have a good time. But the first graders apparently have an interesting sense of humor.
Yeah, and it's a little different, isn't it? Because
Yes.
they're not at the same level of thought that you have, and that's true. Now, when I was a teacher, and I'm sure your mom gets this too, does your mom ever have anybody call her mom instead of teacher? This is what's another thing to keep in mind, because when I was teaching, I'd have some kids that would call me mom by accident. And they were mortified, right? They were embarrassed. And sometimes I would say, oh, you better get back to reading because we want your brothers and sisters to read. And sometimes you make it funny so that they're not so embarrassed and you kind of play along with it. Or other times if they said it really silently and nobody heard it, I would just kind of wink and go on because nobody else heard it. And, that way they wouldn't be embarrassed. So it's important to kind of laugh at yourself. There's times that it's important to make fun of yourself. Have you ever found a situation where you make fun of yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't recall one.
Oh,
Well, like once I was like saying, like my name is not spelled like the V. It's spelled with PH, and I can say I'm stepping on a hen.
that's cute.
I don't get it.
Because it's a V and he's trying instead of
Step
PH on
hen.
a pen, step on a hen.
I think I
So
get
let's
it.
let's read Genesis 21, and I think it's Genesis 21, 5 through 7. And I'm thinking of another story where God must have had a sense of humor. Can you read that for me?
Now Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, God has made me laugh, and all who hear will laugh with me. She also said, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? For I have borne him a son in his old age.
So yes, God had a sense of humor, and we need to have a humor like Jesus that wouldn't put somebody else down, right? We need to make sure that we are encouraging others and figure out a good way. Sometimes it's good to have a punchline and look for something funny each day. Have you ever tried doing that? Like trying to think of something funny each day. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
And then laugh at it and tell your family about it.
I refer to the book.
Yeah, like your book. I think it's time for a question.
This question goes to all of us. It's from Maxwell in Oklahoma. He asks, have you ever experienced an earthquake?
No, I've experienced a tornado with lots of hail. It was really scary. I had to even wear a helmet.
Oh my.
Me too. I've experienced one. Yeah, it's actually very scary. Yeah, and like
Experience an earthquake?
no, not
tornado.
Tornado.
Okay.
And like a tree knocked down.
A tree knocked down, that's pretty severe. I've been in some bad weather too, but I have been in an earthquake, and this one was kind of interesting because it was my first earthquake, and we were in Reno, Nevada, and we were in bed, and all of a sudden it rumbled and it roared, and I thought, oh, my husband started snoring and he's moving the bed, and I'm like, Jason, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm not doing anything. And we realized afterward it was an earthquake.
Kind of like the earthquake in Haiti, except that one was way more devastating.
Those would be dangerous. But God wants us to always have humor. Take the light things in life, right? And we can always be funny.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on Kids Express.